Good morning. Today is Monday the 13th. Oh, it's actually not Friday the 13th, Monday the 13th. What happens then? What happens now? What's going on?
I was going to say something crass.
Oh, I learned that word the other day.
Like today?
Just before we started.
Today is our very special 300th episode. We've been releasing episodes. This is the 300th time that we're doing this. And in light of that amazing, just awesome fact, we have a special episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the state of the church and perhaps your pastoral comments on that. And it's going to be great. Very, very special episode 300. You are listening to the Dear Church Podcast. Welcome to the Dear Church Podcast, where we exist to fill your ears and your minds with the study of God to see the world as disciples of Christ. My name is Sam Yang. We have with us Pastor Eugene, Junsuk, and David. And today, again, like we had said, is our 300th one. Can you believe it? There has been 300 of these episodes. But do we want to crack open the monsters before we
have
begin?
In front of us Ultra Black.
I don't know if this is like a good drink for our health. Just
Monster Ultra Black.
So today, Pastor Eugene, now that we were energized with this Monster Energy Ultra Black, I thought it might be good for us to take a moment to just kind of reflect and to think upon these past 300 episodes, which had been 6 years. We started this in June of 2020 during the pandemic. Actually, sorry, I think March. Something like that. Right? No,
yeah.
we started.
As soon as COVID started, we started the podcast.
Yeah, we started. So we started then. It has been 6 years. So I thought we would ask two questions, but they're five-parters. And I think these questions tend to be really helpful in applying the lessons. So just two questions. And we'll kind of, and you don't know these questions. I didn't give you these questions. So This is just right off, I guess, like the top of your mind as you have prayerfully considered. So those two questions are, number one, 5 things that our church can be encouraged to continue in, meaning these are the things that we're doing well, so an encouragement for us to continue. And then 5 things that our church can grow in. Maybe these are, I don't know, like traps that you see, common themes and temptations and sins that you see, ways that our church is being moved around by the world that you wish to warn us of. And so, because 300 episodes have passed, this has been 6 years. In the past 6 years, again, 5 things that our church can be encouraged to continue in, meaning things that we've been doing well, encouragement to continue, and then 5 things that our church can grow in, meaning some ways that we can improve on. Maybe turn away from, maybe turn to, that kind of thing.
5 things. You love lists.
I do love lists, and then I also realized that CoverGirl also loves lists.
CoverGirl?
You know those magazines where you go to like a ShopRite or something, and you go to the cashier, and then you walk by, and then it's like, oh, Princess something is lost a ring or something.
Yeah.
Like those magazines, they also love lists, like 10 ways to improve your fitness this year.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's good.
It's catchy, though, I think.
Yeah.
They got something going on.
Okay. 5 things, huh? Well, number one is pretty evident that I'm very happy about. It's this church's single-mindedness when it comes to doctrine and doctrinal purity.
Yeah.
And, it's become somewhat of a negative thing that some people try to point out. Oh, you guys just think about doctrinal purity like the Pharisees. No.
Narrow.
The Pharisees actually were not doctrinally pure. They made up addition. Jesus says it was the traditions of man that they added. And so, no, that's not what we're talking about. Being of one mind. This is what Paul tells not just the Philippians, but the Corinthians. Being of one mind, meaning having the same doctrine, having that same, dogma, the teaching. And so this is what we are now, all gathered together for.
You got to have that dogma in you.
No, I think it's really important. This is something that Paul says would complete his joy when we have the same mind, when we have unity of mind, and we do understand that, what we're going to stand on is not the traditions of men, but the doctrines of God that has been laid out in his word. We want to be reformed and reformed according to the word of God. And this is something that I really, really do enjoy, that our church has fostered and continues to protect and continues to uphold. And, there's something that I like, the fact that this is a label that we have. These guys want to follow the Bible. They're really Bible believing. And I really enjoy that. And, I get it that other churches might want a different primary label, like, oh, we want to be people of love, or we want to help the sick or the poor, which is also in the Bible, is it not? Absolutely, absolutely. I also want to, be people of love, helping the poor. But I do believe it comes from doctrine. So it has to come down from that first.
Do you think, though, that there are ever any cons of being, quote unquote, like too dogmatic? Kind of like what you were saying. Some may accuse our church of being, oh, you're so too focused on this. Where is your outreach? Where is the ways that you are serving the community? How come you're not doing this? How come you're not giving back to Teaneck, where we're located? You guys are just in your little ivory tower, just reading books and talking and discussing, and that's all you do.
Ebony Tower.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, actually.
I bet. What's the yellow tower? Mustard Tower?
Yeah.
Our mustard towers.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a fair criticism. I think we should be able to take that, and we should be able to learn and grow from it, to be honest, right?
Yeah,
and so we're always seeking places to serve our community, and to across the oceans, whether it's in Japan or the Philippines. And currently I am in talks and looking to see if we can serve in some way in India. There are places in the local area that our deacons are looking into, like foster care and things like that. So, absolutely, we want to do all of that. But again, if this is what you think is primary, I'm saying it's not, because this is what's all messed up in the world today. Is we think that we can set up all these 501c3s and nonprofits. That's going to save the world. And New York City has all these nonprofits, and yet they're a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And so I don't think 501c3s are going to save the world. I think you have to know where this is all coming from. Your morality has to be good, and then the service should flow out from that. So if your service isn't flowing out from the heart, and the heart is wrong, there's something to say about that too. So I would say, I think because we don't put it on the forefront, it doesn't mean we're not doing it, but we definitely want to put the doctrine part in the forefront of our church, saying we want to be followers of the Word of God, and if the Word of God says it, we want to do it. So we don't want to just be hearers of the Word, we want to be doers of the Word, which is from the Word of God, right?
Right.
And so all of this stuff is from the Word of God.
So number one is the unity of doctrine. Number two, I know I just sprang this on you.
Yeah.
Of 5. So
what do I really like?
Yeah. Like what are things that our church has been doing well in which we can encourage to continue to grow in?
Maybe maybe this is not in primacy, but just what's coming up to mind.
I think I know what you're going to say.
What?
I don't want to say it though, because I might be wrong.
All right.
Is it? Okay.
Food.
Okay, that's not what I was going to say.
Yeah, I like it that we eat food together. All these guys, I get it. We could do better, right? And that's the point, right? You're saying how we could do better. We should eat food with different people, more people. I get it. But after Sunday, our church serves food. Your church, if you're not part of our church, maybe your church doesn't serve food. Maybe they have cookies and coffee, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
I would encourage that you would stay for the cookies and coffee time, and converse with fellow believers, encourage each other, sing psalms and hymns, to one another and that kind of thing. And so spending time together, food just has you sit down and then you get to eat. But not only that, there's so much involved. So you get to serve food, you get to receive food, you get to look for a spot to sit, you get to see other people eating. So they're just in the same vicinity or the same room. You occupy the same area, breathe the same air.
Yeah.
You'll say hi to each other. You'll look at each other's faces. Even if I didn't say a word to, let's say, David on a particular Sunday, I spent a whole afternoon in the same room with him, and maybe I could do better, but it's so much better than not spending any time with him at all. And so I really enjoy the fact that we get to eat together, spend time together. In fact, one of the things that I would expect whenever we have, let's say, non-Sunday meetings too, is one of the things I do expect is there should be food. I mean, I get it. Sometimes it's light snacks, or sometimes it's a nice,
What's a light snack versus like a heavier snack? Because I just feel like we don't know the difference, I think.
Yeah, you could have like a whole, what do you call that when you have a lot of food on the table?
Plethora.
Spread.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have a spread, nice spread, and or you could have something simple. I would say simple
actually?
is light.
Yeah, I think so.
If you have something like a charcuterie board, I don't know if that's necessarily
Those
light.
are delicious, by the way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work that goes into it. So whenever we went over like someone's house and we know we're gonna eat, like the host sometimes would just put up a charcuterie, like a cheese board.
I actually have a list of top 3 people at a church that make amazing charcuterie boards. Top 3 list. I'm not going to share it here, but
Junzak.
you don't know the
June
difference
suck.
between American cheese and Parmesan.
What's your favorite cheese, Junzak?
You say
Pepper
crust.
Jack.
Pepper jack. Well, on your chicken sandwich? Anyway, I like that when it comes to food, we are more intentional.
Yeah.
And I hope that we continue to do that. And I think there are people that think along the lines as like, okay, we're going out for this. Why don't we invite this other person? And so I think that there is a purposeful element to us gathering even outside of Sunday. So the food part I really enjoy. I hope we continue to do that. And, sometimes I'll get invited too. And I really enjoy those times where
I would love to get invited.
I get to see, it's an inside joke.
Love to be a part of one someday. I think our fellowship has been really encouraging. Our fellowship team is really great. We have 2 deacons that are in charge of it or that are serving us in the fellowship ministry, and they do an amazing job of organizing and kind of providing every Sunday. Our fellowship team and the new COAs are hitting.
Coins are water filters, and that's my favorite. Sometimes when people do fellowship or they want to host for our Sunday, it's simple,
Moses.
like a pizza. That's all we really ask for. Something simple. Like pizza's pretty simple, and that's totally fine. But if you've been coming to our church, a lot of people decide to take this as a main opportunity to serve.
Yeah, it's
So
been
they
great.
go all out. Yeah, so they'll go all out. Sometimes we'll have, like Junzak said, a very nice spread, like multiple trays of different kinds of food. And we'll do that. And sometimes there's even kimchi, which I really enjoy.
I think a question to follow up on what you shared for number 2 is fellowship. I think one of the, and I don't know, this is interesting because, you gave number 1, and I think there's a question regarding that, even with number 2. What if people have trouble fitting in? What if people, like you were talking about, find themselves in the fellowship hall and they can't fit in, they don't have a table to sit at. How would you encourage those who are having difficulty fitting in, maybe even making friends? How would you encourage them to continue to join the fellowship?
Yeah, I don't think fellowship is a time to make friends. I think that is why people get tripped up. So they'll come to church, they'll, come to the corporate gathering, which is great. So we'll sing, we'll pray, we'll listen to the word together, receive the benediction. That's the major thing that we do as Christians. And then they'll come into the fellowship hall, or as I like to call it, the Hall of Kings, Hawks.
I don't know if we named it that though.
I might just commission a banner.
Just
Say it's
saying
Hawks. Yeah. Like, what does it stand for? Doesn't matter. But
Short Kings though.
so people will come, Husk, but people will come and they will think, oh, I can't really fit in. Isn't this the time to fit in? And I think the answer is no. It's a time for people. You got 120, 150 people crammed in one room. It's not really a time to get to know anybody. It's a time to say hello, to exchange some pleasantries, to say, how's the weather, that kind of thing, and to greet each other, to try to, in that short amount of time, try to encourage each other. But it's not a time for deep, like getting to know each other. You're not going to grow in the knowledge of one another during this time. I get it that it's a small thing, and because it's a small habitual thing, that it will add up. That's also true.
Yeah.
But I think the main way of people growing together, and this is obviously going to leak into what we need to do, the 5 things that we need to do is, you got to serve together. You have to serve together. I don't think, Sam, you and I were pretty close because we did a lot of things together, a lot of ministry together, even before you were called to, the church as a staff member.
Right.
You and I still did a lot of things together,
Yep.
We slept in the office together.
Yep.
You, me, Chunzuk, sometimes other people too.
Yeah.
And then the other pastoral staff would come in. They would walk in and see you guys sleeping in the office because I was already in the meeting, right?
Right.
So they see you in the office and they would come and tell me, it's a little much that these guys are sleeping.
We were in
in the
tank tops
office.
at the time.
Tank tops and basketball shorts.
Yep.
No, they would go, it's a little much that they're here, and I would respond, it's like, well, that's what it is. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, serving together has gotten us closer than anything. It's not, look, I get it that eating together is a huge thing. But serving together is where you really, sharpen each other.
Right.
Where you challenge each other, where you could deeply encourage one another. That's when you really get to know each other, is when in service to one another. And so, I think that's going to be part of the second list that you wanted. But
serving. That's a great one.
I don't think that, this is because you asked the question. I don't think fellowship, meaning eating the food together fellowship, is really going to get you into these deep, significant relationships that people say, quote unquote, say they want.
And I think oftentimes people compare worldly friendships with friendships that they have to have at church. I think.
But think about why you are friends with the people that you're friends with.
Right.
Didn't you go to college together? That means you literally spent time studying together, hanging out together, doing activities together, eating together. Maybe if you're, roommates, dorming together, sleeping together, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, you still remain friends after because you have this camaraderie that was developed.
Right.
Or if you grew up with somebody, like, oh, I grew up with this friend. Yeah, because you bumped heads with each other. I bet you fought together. I bet, or fought with each other. You rode your bikes together down the street because you're neighbors. You did stuff together. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, people want to be like, have these deep, meaningful relationships, let's say in church, but you don't do anything together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you got to continue to do stuff together. And, I get it. Corporate worship is one of the main parts. Corporate worship is what brings in the other elements. So without the corporate worship, I don't think those other things matter. But with the corporate worship, those other things should start coming in line.
I think that's really helpful for us to think about. Even, thinking about friendships within church, I think that's helpful. Because I think when people come to church, they want to make friends, obviously. But they kind of look for it in the way that we look for friends in the world. And I think it's a little different than that. So,
why are you friends with anybody that you are? Isn't it because you have, let's say, similar affinities,
right,
or you're working together, or, you have a history? So that's why you have that. So all of a sudden you come here and you just want friends. It doesn't happen out of the blue.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes effort, especially if you're going to only see someone for an hour once a week. I don't think you'll develop any bonds with them, to be honest. And so yeah, you got to spend time together.
I think that's great advice for anybody, not even just our church, but for anybody that wants to build relationships in their church or be more plugged in, as they like to say. Serve at your church. So number 1 was the unity in doctrine. Number 2 is our fellowship and, well, I guess, food. Number 3.
I would say, again, this is not in primacy or,
I know what you're going to say.
I think it's our emphasis on the corporate gatherings.
That's not what I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah. It's our emphasis on the corporate gathering. I think everyone in our church really puts a lot of effort into coming and gathering with the saints on Sunday.
Yeah.
Or most people, I should say. And I think that is a major, major benefit to our fellowship, and it is in obedience to God and His Word. And so some people take Sundays like secondary, like, I'll go to church because it's good, but going to church every Sunday, that's not a necessity, right? Because
too much.
I believe in God.
Yep.
So I'll go to church if I can, but if I don't, God will understand.
Yep.
Right? That's what they'll think. So when I was in college, I was traveling with a friend and his parents, and so the 4 of us were traveling, and it was Sunday. We happened to go on a Sunday, and then I said, "Oh, there's a church. We should just go to this church." And they're like, God will understand if we don't go to church today. And that still stayed with me. It still stays with me today, obviously. And I was like, I don't think that's the point. I don't think the point is God will understand if I don't do this. It's like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to gather with the saints. I want to worship the Lord God on a day that He has set apart for His worship, for the glorification of His name, for the saints to be encouraged. We have elders in our church who will go on, let's say, vacation. They'll take a red-eye flight back and they'll come to service. That's not. I think that's a very, very admirable thing. When people take vacations, they don't go through Sundays.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Some may say that is pharisaical, or some may say, well, that sounds a little cultish. Like, why do they have to go back to their church? Why can't they just go to their church in Cancun? Like, why can't they go why your church?
Why do you tithe in your church? You should just tithe generally,
To the church, capital C.
To anything you want. Take the 10%, and if you believe it's a worthy cause, just give it around, right?
Why go back to your local church if you're on vacation in Cabo?
Because, it's the same thing where, Cabo. Who wants to go to Cabo? Scrubs. Anyway, so a lot of people in our church, they will take vacations and then they won't go through the Sunday. They'll come back for Sunday service.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. I get it. That's not possible all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to miss a Sunday. I don't think so. I don't miss a Sunday.
Well, they're going to be like, well, then,
Did I miss a Sunday last year? Did I miss a Sunday last year? Nope.
No, but people are going to...
And the year before, I think I missed because someone was born. I don't know. Whatever.
No, but they're going to be like, well, you're the pastor, though, so...
Yeah, exactly. If anything, the pastor should be the one taking the breaks.
I'm just a normal congregant.
He should be golfing on Sunday. He should be out in the field.
I'm a normal congregation.
Is that what it's called?
I'm a normal congregational member, though.
The course. He should be out on the course. Anyway, I'll tell you why I think it's so great. So I get it. Sometimes you have to miss a Sunday. You got a work event or a vacation that you had to plan. And I try to be as understanding as possible. Obviously, I'm showing my hand here. I don't think missing a Sunday makes sense to me. And I'll tell you why. And I like it that a lot of people have this in mind. So even if they miss a Sunday, or they can't be here physically on a Sunday, they'll watch it on, online, or, they'll text people that they miss everybody and they wish they could be there. It's precisely because of what I talked about. We don't tie to just any old place. We tie to our local church. When you protect your family, every family is important. We don't give to every family. We mainly focus on our family, make sure that they're rooted and grounded in Scripture and they grow well, that kind of thing. So you protect this house. And so we have been given a house and we protect it. The pastor staying here makes sense to people. Why does it make sense to people? Because if he's the main guy, he should protect this house. He shouldn't be going around and preaching like 40 times out of 52 weeks at other churches. Yeah. Right. Because he should be protecting his house. Mm-hmm. That only makes sense. But if he was, that famous and that, desired, in public speaking, they want him all these places, and he's out 40 weeks out of 52, I think the church would be like, we're very happy for you. We're so happy that people want to hear what you have to say. I think we need a senior pastor, though. That's what they would say, right? Yeah. So no offense to him, right? But so the elders of our church, what they would do is they would come back. So I remember we have one particular elder. This is just off the top because it's most recent. Would go down to Virginia to visit his family. He would drive up alone to make sure that he could make it to Sunday service. And then he would make sure, and he would drive up that morning to make sure he made it to our service by himself. And so there are people in our church that, it's not just the elder. There are many elders that do this. Like, and multiple elders that have taken red-eye flights so that they can make sure they would make it to our Sunday service. Why? Because this is your house. You protect it, right? This is your house. This is the house that God has called you to. This is the family that God has called you to. You protect it. The corporate gathering of the saints, it's a particular gathering. It's not just some ephemeral, like something in the ether out there gathering. It's not a gathering in your mind. It's literally a physical gathering. Yeah. And so here we are. We're protecting this house. And we go. And I get it. Sometimes people got to take vacations, but I really don't, to be honest. I mean, I get it. I get it. If you're traveling, there's nothing else you could do. You say, I'm going to travel for a month. That's fine, but it's the same thing. You wouldn't. So let's say you want to travel for a month.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Where am I going?
Cabo. But let's say you're traveling for a month. You're going to go to the rocky beaches in Cabo. You can't even swim there. Nice. Yeah, it's just blah. Anyway, there's sharks but you're just going to spend a month there. If that's the case, what would you do?
I'll probably have to find a church.
No. What would you do about your house here? Oh. Right? That's what you'd be thinking about.
Right.
Oh, for a month I'm going to be gone. I got to make sure, all the utilities are turned off, that that my bills go out on time. Right. I got to make sure I take out the garbage. So I remember I was as prepared as I thought I could be when my first child came. And we did everything that we could. Turned off everything, made sure we told people. I made sure people knew in the church that if this would happen, this is what we're going to do. Someone would take my place on the pulpit if I were to preach that Sunday. Right. We're going on a retreat soon. All these preparations have to be made. I forgot one thing, and I didn't tell you this, did I? I'm not sure if I told you that. I forgot one thing. I forgot to take out the kitchen garbage.
Oh, you told us this.
I did tell you. So I forgot to take out the kitchen garbage, but I did everything else that I thought I needed to do. So there was a little bit of garbage left in the kitchen garbage. By the time we came back on the fourth day or the third day when we were, released from the hospital, fortunately we had a bug zapper that we left on. There were about 1,000 flies. There were hundreds and hundreds of dead flies in the house. It was all over the house. It was all by the bug zapper. And it was by the garbage can. It was by the windowsills, and it was a nasty, nasty sight. But that was just 3 days or 4 days. Yeah. So imagine this is the house that you need to take care of. This is the house that you've been called to take care of. This house belongs to you in the sense where we have a physical place that we get to serve at. And you go on vacation. Wouldn't you do everything possible to make sure that everything is fine, right? Especially if you have a lot of responsibilities. And I think that's what our church members do, which I particularly enjoy and I'm very thankful for. But would you, if you have, a lot of things to take care of as a particular season in your life that, this house needs to be taken care of, would you take a vacation then? No, you wouldn't either, right? I think people understand that too. When there's a little bit of a lull and you want to take a break, but, there is that temptation to not think about the church and think about yourself first. I got to take care of me. It's about time I take a vacation. I don't like that kind of thinking. That's all I'm saying. I don't like that kind of thinking because it's me-centered. So I need to take a vacation because if I don't take a vacation, everybody else is going to suffer. It's like, no. If anything, you need to make sure you're okay so no one suffers. And so if you need to take this vacation, know that other people while you're out will have to take your burden.
Yeah.
And so you should be very thankful for those guys too, right? And so there's a different mentality in that kind of thinking. Because, this is a house that you belong to. This is your house. That's what I mean by, this is a house that you belong to. And so you have your local church that you are responsible for, that you belong to, that you are to care for. And the corporate gathering of the saints on Sunday is the most important gathering that the church does. And so why would you miss it? I think some people look for weekends just to take a break. That's not how Christians think, just so you know.
Yeah.
Maybe baby Christians, which I'm fine with. Eventually they'll grow, and if God willing, they grow out of milk into solid foods, they'll also see what I just said.
To your point, I don't think it's even just elders that do that, but like you said, it's kind of the culture of our church now where members are doing that as well, where, I've heard of people planning their vacations or trips and whatnot, and they always keep the Sunday gathering at our local congregation in mind. And so they'll be like, I'll come on Saturday night or I'll fly in really early Sunday morning. And so it's not even just only in the leadership, but it's in our membership as well, where that kind of culture has come into play. And so we really value the local gathering of the saints here at our church, which is encouraging.
Yeah. So our Sunday gatherings, our deacon tells me like what percentage of members have shown up on Sunday.
Yeah.
And, I am encouraged. It's always in, 80% and above, and sometimes 90. Hopefully, we get consistently 90, but, things happen. People have to go some places and things like that. But, in the end, you really want to be at your home church on Sunday because that's your home.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoy about our particular setting here is a lot of people believe in that. Not just, like you said, leaders, but if you're a member, you have this. It's not a simple fealty. That's why people are like, oh, is it cultish? It's not a simple fealty. It's fealty because this belongs to you. Okay?
Yeah.
And so this is what you were called to, and you want to devote yourself to what you were called.
Number 4.
What were the first 3?
The first 3 were united in doctrine. Number 2, this is a test. Number 2 was food, or our enjoyment of fellowship. And number 3 was our desire to gather together as a local community, a local congregation.
Yeah, okay. I guess a fourth one I could say is...
I know. I think I know.
What is it?
No, I don't want to get it wrong, though. Number 4, I was going to say babies.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, was that any of your 5?
No.
Because I was going to say, I think our church is really, really in a place where we value family and we value children education and we value just raising our children well, apart from, I guess, the ways of the world. And so that's something that I've been encouraged by. Maybe it's because I've been in children's ministry and youth, but in conversations with parents, it's been encouraging to see how, I guess, distinct and how godly our parents want to raise their children. And that's been a real encouragement for me.
No. I think children are pain.
They can be painful, I think.
No, I'm just kidding. I remember someone who has older kids came up to me after and said, man, I bet that really disturbs you when all these kids are crying in the back.
Yeah.
These parents, they just gotta they don't know what they're doing, right? And so I just like, no. Actually, I don't mind at all. I actually am very happy that we have so many kids, and I like it that the parents, are embarrassed and they want to take the kid out of service for a little bit. But then they're gonna have a tough time. Parents have a tough time for the first few years of their kid.
I don't know.
It's just what it is.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but a couple retreats ago when Dr. John Curry was preaching at our all family retreat, I kind of gave him a heads up. I was kind of telling him, hey, we have a lot of kids in our congregation, and so they might be screaming, they might be crying. I hope it doesn't, disturb you or bother you or anything like that. And he actually was saying, no, he loves when he hears crying happening in the congregation because it shows you that the entire family is there. And so he took it as like a sign of a healthy church. Like, hey, you're all here. You guys are doing great. And if they cry, they cry. That's what they do.
So I officiated a wedding the day before our recording. So yesterday, and people were telling me, or people were asking me about the state of our church. And I haven't seen some people in a while, or, we served together at another church formerly. And so, I said, we were at a stage maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. We were at a stage in our church where I was doing maybe a dozen weddings a year.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? So it was funny because at the venue I went to, the maitre d' looked at me. He's like, don't I know you?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I've been here a few times, right?
Yeah.
And it's because I did so many weddings. And then I said, now I don't do as many weddings. Maybe I do half a dozen a year, which is still a lot.
Right.
But then we have that many kids.
Baptisms.
We have so many kids. Our last baptism for kids on Christmas was like 12 or something like that, right?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And that wasn't even including my kid.
Yep.
Anyway, so here we are. We're in this kind of stage where we have all these kids. So they're all seasons, and I think we should be very thankful for the season that we're in.
Yeah.
I think, I'm happy for the babies, but if you asked me 5 years ago, I'm happy for the marriages. In 5 more years, it might look a little different again, but we should be thankful for whatever season that we're in. But I am thankful because, especially for this season, because a lot of people tell me, too many people tell me, I think, that their services are very quiet, that there are no babies at all.
Yeah.
And to them, that's, if they're not a birthing church, they're a dying church. So not dying because, you're not faithful to like the scriptures of the gospel, but
You meant like in membership wise, like size,
like age. They're aging.
Yeah.
They're an aged group. And so it looks like they're an aging church, that kind of thing. So, you always want to be in, you always want to be thankful for the seasons that you're in. Hopefully, this season of a lot of births will be, something that we could all be thankful for, but something that never really passes from us.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's not simply just the births, but just the emphasis and the prayer and the focus on children education and children and raising children correctly. That has been a real encouragement, I think, in our church.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that as number 4. That's great. Great number 4. People have now been coming to me now with, Christian education, homeschool education.
Yeah.
They're looking at, homeschool material from, was it Canon Press, right? They have homeschool
awesome.
material.
Which is awesome.
What's another place where we get some homeschool material from? I forget.
I know
there's a bunch. There's a bunch of others. Yeah. And so
something.
Christian education. Yeah. Maybe you can't afford Christian like private school education, and so they'll homeschool their kid for a little bit, send them to public school for a little bit, that kind of thing.
And either way takes sacrifice, I think. And I think people are willing to make that sacrifice, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our final one.
Last but not least,
I would say it's probably a Romans 12, rejoicing with those who rejoice, weeping with those who weep. I really do see it. Maybe not 100%, but who has 100%? I think we kind of tend to focus on the 1 to 5% that aren't like this. But I would say the vast majority super majority, 90+% of people, when someone's happy, we're all happy. When someone's sad, we're all sad.
Yeah.
When someone gets engaged, like last weekend, everybody's happy for this guy, you know? We wanted him to get married for so long.
Yeah.
He was promising that he would get married for so long.
And have children.
And have kids. And now he finally gets to do that.
Yep.
And so our very own Junza got engaged last weekend, right before Easter, no less. He wanted to take some of that limelight away from Jesus, but he failed. He failed. You can't take.
He failed.
You can't take the
You can't do
Shekinah
that.
from Jesus.
Failure.
You know, he'll smite you. But on Holy Saturday, he got engaged, and now he is a fiancé. You know,
What's the girl version of fiance?
fiancé.
Fiancé? Oh.
Yeah, fiancé. No, it's fiancé. So fiancé with just one E with the accent is a man, and fiancé with two E's at
Fiancé.
the end. Nope, it's just fiancé.
I wish it was
a girl.
pronounced differently. It feels.
But you know, you're not fiancés all the time, so it's fine. And so those are, I think people are genuinely happy for him. But at the same time, you know, we weep with those who weep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning, you know, we have a brother, you know, that really needs prayer. He has health issues, and our host church is gathered together.
Yeah.
And meaningfully and purposefully pray. We pray for him every Saturday morning. So you'll know if you come out on Saturdays who we're praying for. And if you don't come out on Saturdays, I guess he knows too, because, you know, you'll ask him, oh, you know, well, how's it going? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you've been praying for him, you know that we've been praying for his health, and that we continue to pray for him. So we pray for anyone that's mourning loss in any other way. Let's say a loved one dies, and we'll pray for that person as a church. So I really enjoy that we get to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn, or weep with those who weep. And that's I think something that I hope we continue to grow in, and that we can foster in our church.
I think those are great 5 things that we can continue to grow in. Number 1, again, as a review, was the unity in doctrine. Number 2 is food and fellowship. Number 3 is our importance and desire to, our valuing and importance and desire to join together with the local congregation on Sundays. Number 4 is our focus on the next generation, on raising children well in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Number 5 would be rejoicing with those who rejoice and weeping with those who weep. I think those are a great 5 things that we can continue to grow in. So now, I think 5 things that we can continue to grow in, and perhaps things that you've seen in our church, maybe even in our culture, that we should be wary of, that we should be warned about. I think that might be helpful for us.
Number 1, let's go to Philippians 2, chapter 2, verse 3.
Philippians chapter. I'm sorry, I'm using my phone. It's because
That's so rude.
Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 reads, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves."
So I'll give you a little insight to one of our staff meetings that I had. You weren't there, I think, but Junzo was there. I said, you know why people have issues with the church? It's because they consider themselves more significant than they are. And I think that's one of the core issues, maybe not just with our church, but with any group, you know, broadly speaking. But
yeah.
I do think it's specific to our church as well. When you have a problem in our church, or in any church, like I said, but if you have a problem in our church, you have an issue with somebody, or you just don't know why this isn't happening for you, I think maybe 99.9% of the time it's because of this. You consider yourself more significant than you are. And so to put it in today's vernacular, you just think you're better. You're better than what you are getting. So you deserve more than what you are currently getting. That's what you believe. I get it that if I just said it, you think you're better than everybody, people might take offense. I don't think I'm better than everybody. I think I'm, I think I got a lot to. People will say that to me. I think I have a lot to learn, and so they'll present a face of humility. They'll say, "I have a lot to learn, but I'm just not getting what I need from this church." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the end, you can present the face of humility, but what I'm telling you is you believe that you deserve more than what you're getting now. That's what you believe. And so that is the opposite of verse 3 of Philippians, okay? You consider yourself or your needs more significant than others. That is antithetical to the culture of the church that Christ wants us to foster. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would say most, if not all, the problems in your church is because of this. And it is, and Paul puts it very succinctly and very heavily by saying selfish ambition or conceit. And it could be like, it could be things like sending your kid to get food first. Little things to why isn't this church doing this for my kid, the ministry? Or, I wish they would do more for married couples who have problems. I wish they would do more for singles who need companionship. I wish they would do more for outreach because I want our church to be labeled as the church for the outside. I don't know, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so you consider yourself more significant, or you consider your needs or your wants or your priorities more significant than others. And like I said, the vernacular for today that you can make sense of this is by saying what I said. You think your needs are more important. That's what it is. And when you think that, you will run into problems.
So number one would be humility, and I think that the verse explains it perfectly.
You think that your needs are so important that by it not being met, you have a right to gripe or complain.
Right.
I think there are rare cases where you might have a right, meaning like the Hellenistic Jews or the widows in Acts chapter 6. But that was one time. It's not all over Acts, right? It was one time, but for you, bro or sis, it's like everything. Every single thing is about this, right? It's like, why am I not getting the distribution? It's like, no, you got the distribution. You're just not happy with it. That's different, right?
But I guess the question that someone could ask, I think, is what if I have been, emptying myself? What if I have been not doing things out of selfish ambition or conceit, and I have been counting others more significant than myself? But I'm just being taken advantage of at this point because, sure, I don't let my kid go eat first because other kids from other families should eat first. But because of that, my kid doesn't get food every Sunday. Like, what if I get
my
taken
kid goes
advantage
home
of?
hungry? First of all, no kid in our church goes home hungry.
No, that's true.
Right? But let's say it would be that bad.
Right,
where
hypothetically.
if you don't send your kid first, your kid might not be able to eat because there's not enough.
And it's week after week. I just get taken advantage of because I'm trying to serve, but no one else does the same thing.
No one sacrifices as much as you.
Yep.
That's what you think, right? And so I believe you'll probably have to finish the rest of Philippians chapter 2, starting from verse 5. Let's go from verse 5. We'll go back to verse 4 later.
Verse 5 reads, "Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father."
The word for servant in verse 7, taking form of a servant is what in Greek?
I probably would guess doulos.
Yeah, you guessed right. I knew you'd guess right. That's why I asked.
I've been kind of on fire today.
Except for that part.
Humbly speaking.
Yeah, like I said, all of this is for you. He took on the form of a slave or a doulos, a servant here, a bondservant, maybe. But Have you gone to those depths? Have you gone to those depths where you are like a slave to others? Is it just because you didn't get some food for your kid one Sunday early enough that your kid was hangry for a little bit,
Right.
that you're so upset?
Yeah.
I don't think you've taken on the form of Christ. Look what it says. Having this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus. You're supposed to have this mind like Christ because Christ has been given to you. And so instead of thinking like that, what we're doing is, I want my fair share. I want my, equal opportunity, whatever it is. And, here we are, we're fighting and we're scrounging for like the crumbs off the table and not knowing that there's something greater for us. Because what happens? What happens is, if we have the mind of Jesus, who is Jesus? Paul reminds us in Philippians that he was raised up to that ultimate degree. You don't think God will raise you up if you act like Jesus, if you take true sacrifice? Take one in the chin, right? Take one for the team. Instead of thinking, I don't want it to be taken advantage of. That's not right. Of course it's not right. I don't want a church where people take advantage of each other. Obviously not. But you're so afraid of yourself being taken advantage of that you do all these things, and it has become, it's come to this point where it's now selfish ambition. It's conceit. It is taking care of yourself before anybody else. And so let's go to number 4. How do we combat this? In verse 4 it says,
Verse 4 reads, "Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others."
I get it. You got to eat. That's fine. But you don't look out for the interests of others. You got your food. Great. Are you worried about other people getting their food? That's my point, right? You're happy that, your kid got, their little meal so that they're not hangry. Did you look for another kid? That kind of thing. Yeah. Did you look at others who may not have gotten food? Do you go around worrying about, I want to make sure that everybody got a meal? Do you worry about that? Or are you just solely focused on your kid getting the meal, or you and your family getting part of that distribution? Because, I pay tithes, I pay offerings, I should get some of this pie, right? Is that what you're solely focused on? Because that, my friend, I'm telling you, is not the mind of Christ. That's antithetical to the mind of Christ. That is selfish ambition and conceit, is what I'm saying.
And that's helpful for us. Because to be honest, maybe we think we're humble, but we're really not. That could be the case too. You got that sneaky pride in you. You got that sneaky pride.
Well, I think people think humility is to simply lower yourself without, understanding the context.
Yeah.
So let's say the humility that we're seeking here isn't to simply lower yourself, because I do believe despots and evil villains also believe that they are humble to a good degree.
Yeah.
You could say, I deserve 21 donuts. Like Sam deserves 21 donuts. In his humility, he's only going to take 20. He's going to say, I'm a humble man. I deserve 21 donuts. I'm only going to take 20. And then when the donut maker or the baker comes to you and says, I'm sorry, sir, I could only make 5. You're going to beat him to death. Because
I don't know about beat him to death. That's a little...
I mean, I'm telling you, I think despots and, villains, evil dictators, they all believe that they were humble because in context, they thought that they deserved 21,
but they're getting less.
They only got 20.
Yeah.
And here's this lowly baker that's giving me 5, saying, I'm so sorry, sir. I needed to feed my family, so I took 1 donut, and here's 5 for you. And then you beat him to death because how dare you even keep 1 for yourself when you know I deserve 21 and I only asked you for 20.
Right.
You're evil. I take this and then you blow it up, but you could, you blow it up and you see it in a movie theater in a story somewhere. But what people don't do is they don't put it to themselves, which is unfortunate. You all believe, we have a tendency of all believing we deserve a certain amount, and we believe that humility is taking less than what we deserve. The kenosis that we see here from Christ is of an infinite level. He went from the infinite to the finite level. That's immeasurable. It's like saying you deserve 21 donuts, but your humility will make you give, not receive donuts, but will make you give infinite amount of donuts. Like that's the level that I'm talking about. Okay, and so it's not just you getting less; it's you giving an infinite amount, which is what Jesus Christ did.
Right.
That's the kind of mind that we should have. I think we have all these fights, and we're just so petty with so many things. The tendency for us to be petty is great because we think that we deserve more than what we are getting now. That's the issue. It's not simply by saying the word humility. I don't think people get it now because people have misconstrued the word humility to think that as long as I'm getting less than what I think I deserve in that context, I'm being humble. That's not the humility that we're talking about here. It's humility saying, I will count you more significant than me. That means your needs will start to take priority even over, dare I say, my own needs. So instead of thinking, I deserve 21 donuts, I'm going to go to the baker and be like, how much do you need, brother? How can I help you so that you will not just only survive, but you will thrive? And so I think that kind of mindset being lost in the church will be its downfall.
The humility, number one. Number two.
I don't even know if I have five for this. If you
can
get
do three.
if we just get number one, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
I would be so happy. We're gonna stop thinking about I wish I could. I think I need a little bit of this for myself and that kind of thing. Instead of that, we'll be thinking, what can I do for you? How can I help you?
And maybe everything kind of goes into that because we talked about serving before, right? In the first five lists, and you had mentioned that serving would be in the latter five. And I think all of that kind of boils down to humility, and looking to Christ and His humility, and that being the impetus, if you will, the word, the cause or the reason for your humility.
Yeah, I mean, just little things really go a long way, especially when you lift others up. You can get encouraged. You get a breath of, like you could get like a nice breeze on a hot summer day. It feels like that. You get some energy back. So I mentioned that I did a wedding, and it's an hour away from here. It's a little over an hour to drive.
In New Jersey?
In Jersey.
Okay.
So, going to and fro, it's about 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not just a wedding, but they did their dress rehearsal at location. So that's 4 hours of driving that I have to do, right? So I have to go and come back, and then the next day I have to go and come back. And that really tires, I don't know about anybody else, but it tires me just to continue to drive day in and day out. It's the parents of that couple who said, thank you so much for making the drive out here. It's not easy, going back and forth like that. And I was like, no. It's my pleasure. It was tough. It's tough because, I have like a 7-month-old, don't get to sleep a lot, wakes up multiple times in the night, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I have to do the drive. So I have my Monster Ultra Black, kind of whatever I need, right?
Yeah.
To make it happen.
Yeah.
But then the parents are the ones that understand. They're like, but even that encouragement goes a long way. I just shared because if you start to consider others more significant than yourself, then you will even if it's just a gesture like that, you'll start doing that, right? You start to think, I fed my kid. What about this other kid, instead of thinking, you know what, let's hang out with this family because hanging out with this family will be good for my family. hanging out with these kids will be good for my kid. Instead of thinking of yourself, you're thinking about others. And if everybody thought about the other, that would be the mindset that Christ wants for us, right? Instead of everyone just looking out for themselves. And so the criticism that people bring is exactly yours. That's their concern. If I continue to think about other people, they won't. What if they don't think about me? What if they don't think about me? I feel like I have to take care of my own because no one else thinks about me.
Yep.
And so it's a self-perpetuating. First of all, it's a lie, but it's a self-perpetuating projection that you put on other people that you will do, that you will eventually encourage others to do as well.
Yeah.
So there is no giving up of the self. There is no mindset like Christ because you don't have the mindset of Christ, nor do you care. You don't care that even if it was the worst case scenario where they didn't think about you, it's God who will lift you up. And so I never wanted to become a pastor. As a kid, I think I wanted to because, that's what I saw my grandfather and my father do. But as I grew up, I didn't want to become a pastor, less and less as time went on. Because I saw how the church treated my dad. And, there was a small immigrant church. They didn't have money. I understand now that I'm older.
Yeah.
And I bet the people gave what they could, right? But it wasn't a lot. And so I remember looking at, the tax form that my dad, submitted, that kind of his tax forms. I saw his income salary. It was $14,000. I couldn't believe it. Who can live on $14,000? And it's not like he's a part-timer. He's not even an associate pastor or an assistant pastor. He's the head pastor, okay? So here he is leading the church, and they're paying him $14,000. So I remember keeping that in mind, and I'm asking my dad, Dad, how can you, I think I was a teenager or a college student, how can you ever, I think the words were forgive them or be okay with them treating you this way? And that's what I asked him. And so he turned to me and goes, well, I'll get my reward in heaven. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. So that is a response of faith. So later on, I found out that he had the denomination that he was ordained under. They would give him these are the minimum wages for pastors, and he never submitted it to the session because I would have, right? I would have. This is something that your church has to do if you want to have a pastor, but otherwise you shouldn't be a church. But for him, it was the church wouldn't be able to take on that burden of paying me this much. And so he never submitted it. Now, whatever way you want to think about it, it's fine. You could be like, well, they should have. It's part of the discipline and the growing maturity of the church. That's fine too. If you thought that way, you thought, this is, absolutely he should be stepped on. But I don't know if you thought that, but you could. But I'm talking about the heart. The heart behind it is he understood that whatever the situation called for in that particular time and space, what dictated his movements and his actions and his decisions was this. That's what I believe, that he is going to be like Christ. He's going to humble himself because he knows that God has raised Christ. As he humbles himself, God is faithful and he will raise those that are with Christ with him. So he understands this and he believes this. His whole life was around it. I feel like we've lost a lot of that. Because people are like, you just got to go get your own. Because we continue to get fed by this Instagram propaganda where, you got to do this for your health. You got to do this for your mental well-being. You got to do this, to combat social anxiety. You got to do this. And you have all this advice going to you, but what all this advice is really doing, and it comes in different dimensions and forms. All this advice on the stuff that you see on social media, what it's doing is it's reinforcing your your sense of, let's say, entitlement. You count yourself more significant than you ought to. That's what it is. And I think that's the big problem because that kind of culture has set into so many young people. It can kind of, burrow its way into the church as well. And that's what I hope will never happen. So Yes, number one is humility, but it's in a very big way, humility. It's humility like Christ. It's not just any old humility, because anybody could say they're humble, but are they humble like Christ? And so that's the question you should ask yourself. Are you humble like Christ? Not just humble, because they could all say, I'm humble. Instead of getting food first when I could have, I got food second.
Yeah.
But is that humble like Christ? Otherwise, you're not like Christ. And they're a little, like, the food thing really gets me, because I feel like who somebody is with the food, how they treat food, how they eat food, how they're thankful for food, or if they're not thankful for food. And so I feel like you get to know somebody like that. I was online at the wedding to get food, and then someone said, "Oh, you're the pastor. You should be able to cut." And I laughed. It's like, no, it's fine. And then I went to the back of the line to get food, and as I picked up my plate, one of the bridesmaids grabbed me, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but you have to go sign the certificates now." So I went up to sign the certificate, but she was apologizing. I knew you were just about to get food, but we need you to sign this. And so, all these things, I think food reveals character, like how you look at food in so many ways. And so that's why I'm really focusing on food. And I hope that people see that, because food is one of the easiest ways for you to serve. And it's I think it's the least, it returns the least amount of gratitude. Because, you buy someone food, it goes out of their system, right?
Yeah.
They don't have, you buy someone a trophy, they could hang it in their wall or shelf for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But you buy them food, they'll just poop it out. They don't have to remember that food, right?
Some faster than others, actually.
Yeah. And so those are things that I, kind of see in the world. And I like, looking at that and thinking about stuff like that, reflecting on that.
But you asked the question of, are you humble like are you humble like Christ was humble? But I think someone could hear that and say that's not even possible, because he was humble to the point of death, even death on a cross. I'm not going to get crucified for somebody. That was already done. What does it even mean to be humble like Christ? Like, the food thing. Let's just say, okay, I don't eat first. I don't even eat second. I eat third. Do I have to eat last? Do I have to not eat? Is that what being humble like Christ is?
I think that's why I'm not sure if we do have a lot of Christians in the world. We could say that we label ourselves Christian, but if you are not like Christ, you are not Christ's. Jesus Christ says, take up the cross, deny yourself, take up the cross and follow me daily, right? Take up the cross daily and follow me. So, excuse me. And so we don't even deny ourselves. We don't even do the first part.
Yeah.
You don't even deny yourself. What are you talking about? You're always trying to get your own. You always think you deserve this much. You deserve nothing. That's what the Christian recognizes. We deserve nothing. I can't believe. So our whole life is spent in gratitude. I can't believe I get to even have this much. All the apostles died in legend. I get it. It's not written in the Bible. We don't know for absolute certainty, but we know pretty sure. All the Christians died of martyrs' deaths except the Apostle John. They died like Jesus did. In fact, Peter said, I don't even deserve to die like Jesus did. Crucify me upside down. And that's why you'll see in some churches, they'll have an upside down cross, not because they're satanic symbols mocking the cross of Christ, but they're putting the cross out like Peter. We don't even deserve to have this cross, this symbol of a curse.
Yeah.
We don't even deserve that. Crucify me upside down. All of them died. What are you talking about? Like, none of us can be like Christ. All of them were like Christ. All the apostles, the people, the fathers that we saw after. Justin Martyr is named Justin Martyr because he was martyred. And he's the one that we still read and we still, understand and gain a ton of wisdom from Justin Martyr's writings of how he had these apologetics that defended Christianity in the world. And you can't help but to think that because of him and people that thought like that, we have people like Constantine that would come up, and the sorts and the like, and fast forward to history, we have America, but these are things that we'll see in the world. People that have lived their lives like Christ. Isn't that what you want? Instead of this defeated, like, anti-Christ thinking that, oh, no one could be like Christ. Are you saying that I could be like God or I could be infinite? No one could be like Christ. And so what, you're going to give up? You're not going to obey him anymore? I'm not going to be perfect, so why bother being perfect? Is that your response? That to me is a crazier response than saying, you know what? I'm going to be like Christ as much as I can. Let me deny myself as much as I can. Let me take up the cross that I've been given and let me follow Christ. I think that's the attitude that we should have. If we don't have that attitude, again, I'm telling you, it's because you consider yourself more significant than you ought. You think you deserve more than what you're getting now in this life. And the true Christian understands that you not only deserve none of this, you deserve hell. You deserve punishment. And it's the wrath of God, not just like a small ruler snap on the wrist or something, like how they scolded school kids back in the day. You deserve eternal wrath. And now that you've been flipped out of that, that's why we live a life of gratitude, live a life of obedience. We live a life saying, I'm going to do everything that I can in my power now to mimic Christ. If people thought more like that, first of all, they'd be Christian, but the church would look very different, wouldn't it?
I think that's a great point for us to, I guess, just stop and even reflect on this idea of humility. Like you said, I think the world may define it one way or another, but we read in the Bible, then we're taught in the Word that we are to be humble like Christ. And so I think that's a great, not a great, but simply like a mandated goal that we are to have as Christians.
I'll just add, you're not going to be martyred. You're not going to be martyred because you can't even stay last online. You can't even distribute the food without making sure that you get your own. You're not going to be martyred. There's no way. You can't even do the little things. There's no way a big thing you're going to pass that test. Pass the little tests before you worry about the big test.
Yeah.
You're failing on the little tests. Why are you worrying about the big test? The big test, you're going to fail 100%. Be thankful to the Lord that you don't have the big test because you're failing even the little tests. It's like saying, oh man, when that test, for quadratic equations come up, I hope I pass it. Dude, you can't even do 1 + 1 = 2. Do 1 + 1 = 2. Maybe we'll get to the quadratic equations later.
Yeah.
And so you're not even doing this. You're thinking like, man, once I learn geometry, I can't even do geometry. Yeah, why are you worried about calculus? Like, learn basic geometry, right? So there are some basic things that we've been given by the grace of God, Give up your seat of honor. Give up your plate of food. Make sure someone else gets that seat. Make sure someone else gets that food. Make sure someone else is fed. Make sure someone else has some of the limelight instead of just thinking about yourself. And so in the end, the question that people always give then is, well, up to what point? Well, up until you die.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Up until you get killed. Because if you're like, well, I have a threshold, yeah, that's your downfall. That's going to be what gets you, because people, even in John chapter 5, they left Jesus because his teachings got too hard. That's you, bro. That's what you should be afraid of. If you think that I have a threshold, that's exactly what the disciples, and John calls them disciples. The disciples went away, and he turned to his own disciples. He said, are you going to go away too? And Peter said, who shall we go to? You have the words of life, right? So instead of that being your attitude, it's like, this is my threshold. Jesus, make sure you don't pass that because I won't be able to handle it. Yeah, you're going to be pushed past that threshold that you hold, and you're going to fall away too. And First John says, they left us because they were not among us. You were never really a disciple, then were you? Because you could not deny yourself. And if you don't deny yourself, you're not a disciple of Christ.
Thank you for that. That's helpful for us to think and ponder on. And you know what? Maybe having one thing to think about would be better.
I was thinking about another thing since you mentioned it. How about James chapter 4, since you love James? We should definitely hit James. So here's another one that we should do. James chapter 1.
4? Or 1?
4. Chapter 4.
Verse 1?
Yeah. Verse 1.
This is James chapter 4, verse 1. What causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? You desire and do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions.
Yeah. And so you believe that you deserve this. And the second part is that because you think you deserve this, you will take. You may steal. You may destroy. And James calls those people adulterous people. Why are they adulterous for wanting what they believe is their own? Why? Because he says that what you are doing is you are now a disciple of the world, not a disciple of Jesus Christ. You have friendship with the world. You are not friends with God. And so when you act like the world, you are friends with the world. So this is, I guess this is another level of understanding that first part. It's you have these desires and these passions, and they are at war within you, James says. And these things are the origins of the disputes that are taking place in the church for him, okay? And so there's conflict between church members. So here's the second part. Why do you have conflict with one another? I get it. Maybe you always give like your seat to someone else and you're like 64th placed in line for food, whatever it is, right? But you have quarrels and you have fights with some people. Why is that? And James says the origin of the disputes, of the fights that you have, is that you have passions that are at war within you. Meaning you have not just not quelled your passions, they are now raging inside of you. And so you fight and you quarrel. You desire but do not have. And so one of the things that we think is we have control over who gets what, especially me. And that is a problem because people could be like, I give so much to the church, I sacrifice. And then when it comes to, let's say, a members meeting, they'll raise their hand and they'll just cause a huge ruckus saying, because they believe that this is a worthy fight. They bring the war that is inside them outside, okay? And so that is an issue. It's a conflict between church members. You don't forgive. And in the end, James goes all the way. He says, so you murder, right? You read that. So you murder, you kill people. I don't think they were actually stabbing each other in the back. I do think that he meant murder, though, okay? And so what is the point here? Instead of bringing it to the Lord in prayer, saying, Lord, I do believe I need this. Will you be my supply? And if I don't get it, Lord, may my heart be at peace knowing that this is something that you have ordained, right? Instead of something like that. So I'll take, for example, let's say your ordination, for example. You're getting ordained. It's been taking a while. So what could you do? Possibly you could covet, you could fight, you could quarrel, right? Whoever else gets ordained, you could call them a piece of crap, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You could fight, you could quarrel, you could blame people, you could call them names and things like that, okay? Instead of bringing it to the Lord, trusting in the Lord, saying, Lord, this is on your timeline, and this is something that I desire, I give it to you. So you act like the world, right? You start manipulating yourself because look at all these other pastors, I don't know if that's the case, who manipulated you or tried to manipulate you and then took advantage of you or degraded you, talked down to you, and then your passions are at war now, right?
Right.
And so instead of bringing it to the Lord, what you do is you try to handle it on your own. With your own devices. The devices of the world is what we're talking about here. I think that's something to think about too. I get it that you might think it's similar to number one, but it's not, in the sense where you continue to fight with other people in the church especially. And that is something that James is saying is enmity with God. You're not just fighting with people. You are warring with God. And this is something that you're supposed to be happy about. You're supposed to be proud of. He continues on. He says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Instead of submitting yourself before God, what you're doing is you're trying to take over and put in what you believe should be in your timeline. all those like movies that you try to manipulate so that you could make sure that your timeline is correct. I think it's Marvel, right? With Loki.
Yeah.
They always start to say, I'm going to try to make my timeline correct. If I do this, the timeline will be correct.
The TVA.
That's all new age garbage. That's like humanism garbage, transhumanism garbage, that we have this control over our own timeline. And that's why that whole thing was morally garbagistic. It's scubanistic. But yeah, you think you could control your own timeline instead of lifting it up to the Lord. You let your jealous spirit take over, your envious spirit, your quarrelsome spirit, your warmongering spirit in you, and then you start. Sam, you did not do this, by the way. It's just so that our listeners know. Sam did not do this. Sam is very humble and all this. He's waiting, but just wait until Junseok gets ordained before him. It might flip. It might flip.
Yeah,
we call Reverend Junseok and just Sam for a little bit.
Rev J.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
But that could happen. That's my point is that could happen, and people will tell you things like, "Well, you need to take more initiative. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?" People will tell you, and that's fine. I don't think that's wrong. People could tell you, "You should have done this. You should have done that." That's fine. But the point is, did you submit yourself to God? Are you submitting these things and your heart and your desires, all these things to God? Are you delighting in God so that he answers the desires of your heart, like it says in Psalm 37:4, right? Or are you saying, God, submit to me and have my desires over what God wants for you, which is the opposite of Psalm 37:4, right? And so just know that if you are quarreling or fighting with someone in the church, you're trying to destroy them, or you're like, I can't take this person anymore, blah, blah, blah. Just know that you are, fostering friendship with the world, which is enmity with God. And that's something that we ought to be very, very careful in not doing.
I think those are two good warnings for us as a church. Humility and this covetous spirit that you're talking about. And that's helpful for us. So some things for us to consider. 5 things that we are encouraged to continue to do, and 2 things now that we are, I guess, warned in, so that we may be more like Christ day by day.
I'll give you 1/3 last one, if that's okay.
Honorable mention, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an encouragement to do what we've been doing, but in a new, I guess, in a higher dimension. Hopefully, maybe Romans 12:10. It's funny that the first 5 of encouragements had nothing. We didn't put Bible verses, but the admonishments are all Bible verses.
Romans 12:10 reads, "Love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor."
Yeah, and so that's another level, okay? And so it's this devotion that we should have to love one another. We love God, and we ought to love one another then. So we should give ourselves into loving one another. We should be devoted. We should think about how we can love each other better and outdoing one another in honoring the other person. So it's like, oh, Sam honored me. I need to honor him even more. That's the kind of culture that I would like to cultivate in our church, because it's actually in the Bible. So if we're going to compete, we should compete to outdo one another in honoring the other person. Instead of thinking, I'm the pastor, I should stand first in line. Instead of thinking that, imagine the pastor goes to the back of the line and everybody's like, no, you're the pastor, you should go to the front of the line. And then you continue to outdo one another in honoring each other. And the pastor's like, no, you guys are my light. I want you guys to eat food first. You continue to outdo one another. So in that devotion, in that giving up yourselves to love one another, that's what you're pouring yourselves to do now, to figure out ways to love one another even more deeper, in a more profound way, in a significant way. And then to outdo, if you're going to compete in outdoing one another, in honoring the other person above yourselves. And so I would say that would be something that I hope to see in our church.
Yeah. Those are simple enough, I think, for us to really think about and deep enough for us to think about for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be humble about it. I was going to say something, but
What were you gonna say?
I shan't.
He was going to challenge the people to outdo him.
And as a test, he's not gonna do it the same. But that's a test for them, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take everything you give me.
Yeah. And that's helpful. Pastor Eugene, thank you. I think that's really helpful for us. 5 things that we could be encouraged by, and 3 things that we should be warned of. And in essence, we are encouraged to push forward, to be more like Christ. I think that's really helpful for us. As our 300th episode, I think this is very impactful. I think it's helpful for our church in particular. But for, again, anyone that's listening that's not a part of our church, I think this is helpful as a Christian in general, to be more and more like Christ daily. So thank you for that. I believe next week we have a special episode planned.
Yeah, we have a special guest. I think
He doesn't know yet.
He doesn't know,
But he will know very, very soon. We thank you for listening to this episode of the Dear Church podcast. We hope and pray that this has been a blessing in your ears. Fight the good fight, finish the race, keep the faith. Peace.
Peace.